There are moments that stop a room, not because of noise, not because of drama or raised voices or anything that announces itself as significant before it arrives, but because someone says something so unexpectedly honest in a space where honesty was not on the agenda that every person present feels it lands somewhere deep before they have even processed the words. This was one of those moments. And it happened at the dinner table, surrounded by people who had spent years learning how to fill conversation with everything except the truth. I have sat at many tables in my life, tables where important things were decided, tables where significant people gathered and said significant things in the careful language of people who understand the weight of being heard. But I have never sat at a table where a single sentence from a single person made everyone else go completely silent, in the specific way that silence means something true just entered the room. My name is Fazza, and what she said that evening changed something, not just in the room, in me. She was the youngest person at that table, and I think that mattered, not because youth makes someone more honest, but because she had not yet spent enough years in rooms like that one to learn the particular skill of saying things that sound meaningful while carefully avoiding anything that actually is. The rest of us had developed that skill over a long time. We had become fluent in the language of comfortable conversation, in the art of warmth without vulnerability, in the way you can sit with people who matter to you for an entire evening and leave having said nothing that reaches below the surface. She had not yet learned that. Or perhaps she had learned it and chosen in that moment to set it aside. I still do not know which one it was, but what I know is that she was not performing when she spoke. The words came from somewhere unguarded, and that unguardedness is what made them impossible to deflect. The evening had been ordinary up to that point, the kind of dinner where everything moves with a comfortable rhythm. Food arrives, conversations overlap. Someone says something that makes the table laugh, and the laughter settles into the next topic before anyone has to sit with it too long. I was present in the way I am often present at gatherings like this, attentive to the surface of things, engaged enough to participate, but not fully in the room in the way that would have required me to bring anything genuinely personal into the space. That was the texture of the evening, until it wasn't. She had been quiet for most of the meal, listening more than speaking, watching the room in the particular way of someone who is thinking more than those around her realize. And then, in the middle of a conversation that had drifted towards something light and unimportant, she set down what she was holding, and she said it simply, without building toward it, without preparing anyone for it. She said that she had been sitting there wondering when the last time was that anyone at this table had told the person sitting next to them something completely true, something they actually meant, something that did not have any performance inside it. The silence that followed was immediate. The kind of silence that happens when a room full of people all reach the same realization at the same moment and not one of them knows what to do with it. I watched faces adjust, watched people look at their plates or their glasses or at some neutral point in the middle distance. Watched the person beside her open their mouth and close it again without producing anything. And I sat with what she had said, landing in me in a way I was not prepared for, because the honest answer to her question was uncomfortable. The last time I had said something completely true to someone sitting near me without any performance inside it was not recent, and I knew it. And sitting with that knowledge in front of other people while the silence continued was one of the more quietly confronting experiences I can remember. She did not say it to embarrass anyone. I understood that immediately. There was no edge to it, no challenge in her voice. She said it the way someone says something when they simply cannot continue sitting inside a reality without acknowledging it out loud. She had looked around that table and felt the distance between people who cared about each other, and she had named it. That was all. Just named it, without accusation, without expectation of any particular response. And somehow that made it more powerful than if she had said it with anger. Anger can be deflected. Honesty delivered without agenda simply sits in the room and waits. What happened after the silence was less important than the silence itself. The conversation resumed. Someone said something that moved things forward. The evening eventually ended the way evenings end, but something had shifted underneath all of it, at least for me, because I left that table carrying her question, turning it over, applying it not just to that dinner, but to the wider pattern of my life. How often was I in rooms with people who mattered to me and saying things that were careful and warm and completely safe? How rarely was I saying anything that came from the unguarded place she had spoken from? And what had that cost? Not just the people around me, but me, the version of myself that existed in the space between the careful and the safe. She said one thing, one sentence at a dinner table full of people who had forgotten that one sentence could still do that, and I have not stopped thinking about it since. Because the rooms in your life will keep filling with comfortable conversation for as long as you allow them to. And every so often, someone sits down who has not yet learned to be comfortable with comfortable. And if you are paying attention when they speak, something in you remembers what honest actually sounds like. And that remembering is worth more than anything else the evening had to offer.